After caring for my MIL during chemotherapy, she told everyone I was faking compassion for inheritance. My husband didn't deny it. He said, "Honestly, you do act like you expect a thank you for everything." When I confronted him, he said, "Maybe my mom's right about you." I was done. But before I left, I handed him a letter that exposed everything he never thought I knew. Carol, my mother-in-law, was never the warm type. We got along well enough in the early years of my marriage to Drew, but I always knew she never thought I was right for her son. I wasn't as polished, not from the right zip code, didn't come from a family with connections. I was just a middle school teacher who worked hard, paid my bills, and loved her son. 2 years ago, when Carol got diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer, it rocked the whole family. At least, it should have. But Drew kept working like nothing had changed. His sister lived out of state, and his brother, well, he hadn't spoken to Carol since 2015. So when she needed help, it fell to me. And I stepped up. I volunteered. I told Drew she shouldn't have to go through this alone. We agreed I'd stay with her for a while, cook meals, drive her to chemo, clean up the messes that came with it. We didn't have kids, so I could take a leave from work. It felt like the right thing to do. That few weeks turned into 8 months. I moved into Carol's guest room in Wauwatosa, while Drew stayed in our apartment downtown. At first, I didn't even question it. He said it was easier for work. I believed him. Every single day, I cared for her. I managed her nausea meds, logged her vitals, cleaned up after her when she couldn't make it to the bathroom. I watched her cry when her hair fell out in clumps. I helped her pick out a wig and even convinced her to come to a support group with me. I wiped her tears. I held her hand through the worst of it. And through all of that, she never once said thank you. I chalked it up to fear. People get mean when they're scared, right? But things started to shift. There were little comments here and there. "You always look so concerned when the neighbors are around," she'd say. "Putting on a show?" Or, "You take such good care of me. I wonder what you're hoping to get out of it." At first, I ignored it. Maybe the chemo was making her paranoid. But then she started talking like that to other people. Drew's cousin Andrea came by one day with flowers, and Carol said, loud and clear, "Don't be fooled. She's not Florence Nightingale. She's just working on her inheritance." Andrea laughed. I didn't. That night, I called Drew. I told him what she said. I expected him to be upset for me. But all he said was, "Honestly, you do act like you expect a thank you for everything." That sentence. It hit like a punch. After everything I was doing, he thought that? "Are you serious right now?" I asked him. I was in the laundry room, folding her towels. My hands were shaking. He was quiet. Then, "Maybe my mom's right about you." And just like that, something in me snapped. I didn't say anything right away. I kept doing what I'd been doing. I still took care of Carol. But I also started documenting every grocery run I paid for because their shared family account was low. Every text from Drew saying, "Can't make it tonight, stuck at work." Every receipt for medication I picked up out of my own pocket. Every appointment I attended alone. And the thing is, Carol wasn't always cold. On the nights she thought she might die, when the pain meds had her just a little looser, she opened up. She told me things. One night she asked me to take over her medical power of attorney if it came to that. Another night, she cried and thanked me, said she never expected me to stay. I kept that letter. The one she wrote during a brief stay in hospice, when she thought she had weeks left. It was handwritten, shaky but clear. "I don't say this enough, but you've done more for me than my own children. I'm grateful." But she didn't tell anyone else that. The public version of the story she told? That I was some gold-digging Florence Nightingale, playing caregiver for a payout. And Drew didn't just let her tell it, he helped build it. What he didn't know was that I also knew about Sarah. He left his iPad synced to our cloud account. Photos. Messages. One text from her said, "Are you ever going to tell your wife? Or are we just going to keep sneaking around?" That was 5 months into Carol's treatment. I didn't say anything then. I wanted the whole picture first. When Carol finally went into remission, I moved back into our apartment for one final week. I didn't even unpack. Just waited for the right time. I made dinner the night before I left. Sat across from Drew and asked him, again, if he really thought I was faking compassion. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "You always make everything about you. It's exhausting." So I didn't argue. I just stood up, walked to the bedroom, and brought him an envelope. "You'll want to open this when I'm gone." And then I walked out. Inside, everything. All the records, the receipts, the letter from Carol, and the text thread with Sarah, the timeline, the proof. Plus one last thing, Carol's final will, updated just a few weeks before I left. She didn't leave me the house. She gave that to charity. But she did leave me $5,000 for the one who stayed. It wasn't the money. It was the truth. In writing. This isn't the end. I've just started. They tried to make me look like the villain. But they're about to find out who I really am. I stayed quiet for a month after I left. No calls, no texts. I moved in with my sister in Green Bay and got a temporary job at a local community college while I figured out what came next.
Drew didn't try to reach out.
Not once. Instead, I heard from Andrea. She sent me a single message. "Wow. Guess we all had the wrong idea. Sorry." That was it. Then the real fallout began. Apparently, after reading the letter and going through the documents, Drew didn't react how I thought he would. He didn't get angry. He got scared. Carol's will. Especially the part where she donated the bulk of her estate to a cancer nonprofit, shook him. He'd been counting on that money. He'd mentioned, more than once, that her house would help us retire early. Except now us wasn't even part of the equation. I hadn't planned on revenge, not really. I just wanted to walk away with my dignity intact. But that changed when Carol called me herself. She was months into remission by then. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. "I know you gave Drew those papers," she said, voice sharp. "You had no right." "No right?" I laughed. "You told everyone I was a liar, that I was faking care to get in your will. I wasn't even in your will, until you put me in there yourself." She paused. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You still manipulated the situation. You made yourself look like a saint while airing out private family business." That's when I realized she was embarrassed.
Not sorry.
Not even close. She hung up before I could respond. I was done protecting any of them. So I met with a lawyer. I didn't need money. I didn't even want Carol's $5,000. I wanted truth and receipts. The power of attorney document she signed? It came with certain legal obligations. Things Carol and Drew had both ignored when they later tried to exclude me from her medical decisions, something they couldn't legally do after I'd already been assigned that role. During a hospital stay months prior, they had signed me out of key discussions, even refused to inform me of medication changes that I was responsible for administering. That's not just wrong, it's a violation. And the joint medical decisions Drew authorized without telling me? I had all of it in writing. So we filed. Not a lawsuit exactly, but a formal petition requesting Carol's legal team to provide documentation of changes to the medical power of attorney and estate planning. It was a procedural move, but it scared them. A lot. Drew called me 2 weeks later. First time in months. "I didn't know you'd take it this far," he said. I let the silence stretch until it hurt. Then I said, "You should have known." I was quiet, not stupid. He stammered something about reputations, about his work, about Sarah. That's when I dropped the next bomb. See, Sarah? She had no idea he was still legally married. I'd filed for separation, but the divorce hadn't gone through yet. Wisconsin's a community property state. That means any joint income during marriage still counts, including the new condo Drew bought with Sarah, under his name, using bonuses earned while we were still legally wed. I didn't threaten. I didn't scream. I just let my lawyer handle it. Sarah found out. She found everything out. The texts, the timeline, the will, the documents. She moved out within a week. Now Drew's on the verge of losing both the condo and a chunk of his early retirement. Carol? She's scrambling to explain why her former caregiver is now legally challenging her capacity to sign off on changes that affected medical treatment. And me? I'm still in Green Bay, still quiet. But they're the ones who can't sleep now. I gave them my time, my care, my loyalty. Now, I'm going to take back everything they tried to steal from me. A month into the legal back and forth, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Later, when I listened, it stopped me cold. It was Carol's lawyer. He wasn't calling to threaten me. He was calling because Carol had tried to amend her will again, this time to remove my name entirely and make Drew the sole executor. But there was a problem. The amendment was invalid. She had done it without proper medical clearance, and 2 witnesses involved had already signed affidavits that she appeared confused and emotionally unstable during the signing. She was angry, yes, but also forgetful, disoriented. She'd apparently accused her cleaning lady of stealing her jewelry, which was later found in a drawer she forgot she used. She'd called the fire department twice in 1 week because she smelled smoke, but nothing was found. The attorney was required by law to submit these concerns. And now, her capacity to make legal decisions was under formal review. That meant one thing: my original power of attorney could be reactivated. I didn't want it. I didn't want to be dragged back into her life. But I realized something. Carol wasn't just bitter. She was failing. Not from cancer, but from age, trauma, maybe dementia. Whatever it was, she was spiraling, and Drew was using it. He was pushing her to give him control, to funnel her estate back through him, probably to recover what he'd lost with Sarah leaving and the condo being contested. And worse, he was trying to put her back into my hands legally. So, he wouldn't be responsible for her anymore. That was the real twist.
He wanted me to come back.
A week later, I received a packet in the mail from his attorney. It included a proposal for me to resume care of Carol as part of a family reconciliation effort. It offered a stipend, paid from Carol's estate. It was insulting. That same week, I got a letter. Not typed. Handwritten. From Carol. She didn't apologize. But she admitted she was scared. That she felt everyone was circling her for what she had left. That she didn't trust Drew. That she didn't trust anyone. Not even herself. She ended the letter with, "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I believe you were the only one who ever told me the truth. And I may need that again." I sat with it for a long time. That was when I decided on my final move. Not revenge. Not yet. I decided to document everything publicly. No names. No legal violations. But I started a blog. Anonymous, but detailed. A space for caregivers who'd been mistreated, for people accused of caring too much for the wrong reasons. It took off fast. Hundreds of women messaged me, saying they'd gone through the same thing. But then something unexpected happened. A local journalist reached out. Said she recognized the hospital timeline and location from my story. She was writing a piece about caregiver abuse, reverse abuse, where the caregiver is mistreated by the family.
She wanted to meet.
I hesitated. Then I agreed. And what came next? That changed everything. The journalist's name was Mia. Mid-40s, sharp, and clearly not new to complicated stories. We met at a coffee shop on the east side of Green Bay. I brought a binder of documents. Everything I'd shown Drew, plus new ones. The POA paperwork, the medical files, Carol's old will, the letter she sent me recently. She listened quietly, took notes, asked careful questions. Then she leaned in and said, "Has anyone ever told you this isn't just a sad story, it's a pattern?" Apparently, this wasn't unique. Women caring for aging in-laws. Doing everything. Being accused of selfish motives. And when those women step away, suddenly everyone wants them back, not out of love, but convenience. I wasn't special. I was just one more body in a long, quiet war. Mia asked if she could tell my story anonymously. I agreed, as long as no names or identifiable locations were used. I didn't want revenge through gossip. I wanted something that stuck. A month later, her piece ran. It went viral. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was our story. Caregivers pushed to the edge, then blamed when they stopped sacrificing themselves. I didn't tell anyone in the family, but I didn't have to. Carol found out from one of her friends. She called again. You wrote that article, she said flatly. You made me look like a monster. I didn't name you, I said calmly. You didn't have to. Then, her voice broke. I can't go out anymore. People look at me like I'm some heartless old woman. I didn't say anything. I just let her sit in the silence. I wasn't always like this, she whispered. You were like this when it counted, I said, and hung up. Then Drew called. This time from a new number. He wanted to talk. He wanted to clear the air. He said he understood now, that he never meant to hurt me. But here's what really made my blood run cold. He said, we both know Mom's not going to be around forever. And when that time comes, it might be smart if we presented a united front. That's when I saw it for what it was. He wasn't just using Carol. He still thought he could use me. He thought I'd play nice if it meant getting back in line. He still believed I wanted something from them.
But what I wanted now
Had nothing to do with money, and everything to do with exposure. I started digging deeper. Looking into Drew's finances, his shady tax write-offs, the non-profit consulting he'd been doing on the side. I knew some of it had to cross legal lines. He wasn't careful. He never expected me to be the one watching. And I still had Carol's signature on documents Drew never even knew existed. The trap was set. The match was lit. Now I just needed to decide when to burn it all down. I waited until spring. I spent that winter in silence, researching. Drew had taken out a new mortgage on the condo with Sarah before she left him, right before she learned he was still legally married. He'd fudged some numbers, misrepresented his marital status, and failed to disclose existing debt tied to our shared assets. That's mortgage fraud. And because we were still legally married when the loan was approved, my name, my records, could be used to expose it. I also had documents showing he funneled consulting fees from one of Carol's charities into his private business. Small amounts, spread out, but clear. He thought no one would ever look closely. So I hired a forensic accountant quietly, paid out of the small inheritance Carol had left me, which I had never touched until then. The woman was good, quick, and she found everything. Meanwhile, Carol's decline became harder to ignore. She was missing appointments, accusing her doctors of conspiracies. Her lawyer officially declared her incapacitated. Her will could no longer be changed. And my original power of attorney, now formally recognized again, was back in effect. Drew knew it, and he panicked. He showed up at my sister's house uninvited one night. I just want to talk, he said at the door, looking tired, worn down, desperate. Please. I stepped outside. You destroyed me, he said. I know I messed up, but I never thought you'd go this far. You haven't seen far, I told him. Not yet. He looked stunned. What more do you want? You dragged my name through the dirt. You stood by while your mother lied about me. You cheated.
You used me.
Then you tried to reel me back in like I was just another pawn. I lost everything, he said. No, I said. You lost your mask. And now I'm just letting people see who you really are. That week, my attorney filed a formal complaint with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, using the evidence we had collected. Then we contacted the nonprofit Carol had donated to, letting them know a portion of their funds had been misused. They filed their own internal audit. Next, I contacted the bank that had approved Drew's mortgage. Sent them the records. Then I waited. Within 6 weeks, Drew was hit with 2 investigations. One for financial misconduct, and one from the bank itself for fraudulent application data. His accounts were frozen during the review. He called me again. Left voicemails. Apologized. Begged. I didn't respond. Carol's lawyer contacted me separately. She was being moved into a long-term memory care facility. As her POA, I could decide where she went. I chose a clean, well-rated place, but not fancy. Not private. No more coddling. On the day of her move, I dropped off a letter with the nursing staff. It said, "You accused me of pretending to care. The truth is, I cared more than anyone ever did for you. And it broke me. You let your son tear me apart. But I'm still standing. You're safe. You'll be cared for.
But you don't get to rewrite the past.
I won't let you. I didn't sign it. 6 months later, Drew lost his job. Word had spread. Quietly but effectively. He was forced to sell the condo at a loss. Sarah? Long gone. His reputation?
Shattered.
As for me, I took my time. I started speaking publicly, under my real name now, about caregiver abuse. I was invited to sit on a nonprofit board. I got a full-time job again. I rebuilt, piece by piece. But I never forgot the look on Drew's face when he realized I'd outplayed him. He thought I was soft, passive, just a helper. He forgot something important. Helpers know everything. And when we're finally pushed too far, we don't raise our voices. We raise hell.